then that brings us to 13 Witches. And the second book has just come out, but no worries, esteemed audience. If you haven't read book one, that one's The Memory Thief is still available. So true to my promise at the start of this, I will not make you sit through me fumbling over a description of your book. What does esteemed audience need to know about 13 Witches?
Yeah, 13 Witches is a trilogy. It's about a girl, Rosie, who discovers that her mom, who's always been a little bit kind of emotionally absent, she discovers that she actually has been cursed by the memory thief, who's one of the 13 witches in the universe, and she's taken her the curse has taken her mother's memories, and therefore her mother's ability to really be there for her and be loving with her. And the way she discovers this is she is a writer, and Rosie is a writer, and her best friend Germ, they're in middle school, and Germ thinks that Germ has suddenly kind of come upon this social life and popularity, and Germ has begun to feel that they need to kind of leave childish things behind, including these happy ending stories that Rosie writes. Germ's very kind. She says this gently, but it's because of Germ's nudging that Rosie goes out and burns her stories that she writes one night, because she thinks she needs to kind of move on from fairy tales. And when she burns her stories, it kind of triggers her to be able to see things that she's never seen that surround her. There are ghosts in her house. There's one particular ghost named Ebb, who's a boy about her age who died there many years before. And there's a ladder that's hanging from the moon. There's ghost ships out on the horizon she lives on the ocean, near the ocean. And so once she finds out about this world, she finds out soon about the curse and the witches. And she kind of sets out to try to destroy this witch who has stolen her mother's memories in order to get her mother's memories back. And meanwhile, there's a lot of navigating middle school and her friendship with Germ as Germ kind of changes.
So who was the ideal reader for the story?
You mean kind of age-wise, or
any kind of wise?
Wise.
You could pick anybody on earth and say, this, you need to read this right now. Who are you going to?
I mean, I think I often write for people who are shy and introverted, and people who feel a little different. And people who love the way books rescue them, because that's a big part of the story, is just that I think for a lot of us, books have saved us more than once. And so it's really for people who, that kind of resonates with, which I think is probably a lot of people feel that way about books. Yeah, and I mean, age range, probably kind of depends on what, maybe 10 and older. And I tend to write books that have a lot of kind of humor that can kind of translate to adults as well as kids. I try to kind of have that, bridge that in my writing. So, yeah.
Thinking of the parents or the teachers who are going to be reading this aloud to younger people.
Yeah, I think that, I always try to write what I would like to read as an adult, as well as what a kid would like to read. I think I'm always trying to think of that, keep those things tightly together. I think I'm always writing like completely with my own sense of humor, which is kind of childish and childlike and adult at the same time, I would say. So I think that's just what the natural place where fall with my writing.
And then as the Sea of Always, is this a middle book and we're looking forward to a third and possibly fourth?
That's right. Yeah. So in the second book that just came out, Rosie and Germ, despite the kind of complications in their friendship, they're still tightly loyal to each other, and they are setting off on a time traveling whale through the ocean to chase down the other witches who are left.
And then there will be a third book, or
there will be, yes, there will be a third book. I just finished the first draft of that, and that has kind of an outer space element. Rosie gets around, and I love the first book is kind of more of a mystery, and the second book is more of kind of an adventure. And the third book, I'd say, is a little more kind of sci-fi feeling. And I think that was something I sort of set out to do initially, because I always had the end in mind. And the end, I always wanted it to play a lot with perspective and being able to shrink and travel great distances and all of these sort of sci-fi elements. I love, I don't know if you know Grant Naylor, Red Dwarf, but I've loved that book forever. I know it's a show as well. And those things kind of they all fit really well together in my mind for this particular trilogy. They all just seem to kind of naturally fit for the story.
Congratulations on finishing your first draft. That's huge.
Thank you. Yeah, it's terrifying as always. And but yeah, very, like, I always just, the night after I turn in something, I just lay awake and think of all the things I did wrong, and just terrified about what my editor is going to say. But it's also a good feeling. I get to, sleep in every once in a while, so it's good.
Sure. There's that until you get the next idea.